The day is January 23rd, 2001. One of the biggest hardware and publishers in the gaming landscape decides to make an announcement. One that will forever change the company and the gaming industry as a whole. Wake up! Everyone already knows the story of Sega and the console wars. Nintendo was on top of the world until Sega stood up with the Genesis, a little blue hedgehog and their aggressive marketing. Yada, Sega then continues to fumble the bag for like 10 years straight, Sony with the PlayStation sweeps the competition, and Nintendo fumbles many times but it's still going strong. Everyone knows about it. But what most people don't know or just don't think about it that hard is the aftermath. In June 23rd of the same year, Super Monkey Ball will release on the Nintendo Gamecube, becoming the first ever Sega game available on a Nintendo platform, and from that moment on, the once rivals form a bond so deep, the effects of it can still be felt to this day. And that date, June 23rd, what other Sega franchise is heavily associated with that specific date? Well, it's none other than the main mascot himself, Sonic the Hedgehog. And the journey the Sonic series will take after this partnership is one with a lot of turns and twists, and at one point, what was Sega's biggest weapon against their rival would become the very thing they wanted to destroy all those years ago. This is the story of the time Sonic became a Nintendo mascot. I mentioned Super Monkey Ball being the first Sega game on a Nintendo platform, and while that is true, if you search anywhere, the game that will pop up instead is Sonic Advance on December 20, 2001. This is because Sonic Advance is the first new game that was developed specifically for a Nintendo platform, in this case being the Game Boy Advance. Super Monkey Ball was an updated GameCube port from an arcade game, so most people don't count it. Either way, right alongside Sonic Advance, we also got Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, an updated port of Sonic Adventure 2 for the GameCube. Adventure 2 was already one of the last Sega published games on the Dreamcast, so it was pretty simple to just grab it, give it a better multiplayer mode, change some things here and there, and bam! Now right alongside your new 2D Sonic game, you can also buy the newest 3D games as well, all just in time for the holidays. But if the plan was to spread around to as many consoles as possible, why limit Sonic to just Nintendo? It was only around a year and a half into the PS2 lifespan, but even then it was already doing really well, and the Xbox just came out. Sega was already making deals on games for both platforms, so again, why limit Sonic to Nintendo? Sega long abandoned the handheld market, even making a game for the Neo Geo Pocket not too long before Advance, so with Sonic being a more cartoony series, it makes sense to create the first original Sonic game on GBA, a successful platform aimed at all ages on a market Sonic only ever tried before. So this is where the tinfoil hat comes into play. I think everything goes back to these silly little guys. The Chao Garden was a big part of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, a virtual pet simulator side mode that perfectly blended into the adventure gameplay, giving those games a massive replay value aspect. Sonic Advance also had its version of the Chao Garden, the Tiny Chao Garden. It serves the same purpose as the adventure counterparts, just in a more limited and simpler form. But what really made it special was its connectivity with Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. My theory here is that either Nintendo or Sega, probably Nintendo, let's be so real, was really interested in the GBA to GameCube connectivity, so they locked Adventure 2 Battle to the GameCube. Also probably helped that console was also targeted to a younger demographic. And side tangent here, but they did a ton of special events where you could get unique shells based on Tails, Amy and Knuckles. You would get them in your GBA and then you could transfer them to Adventure 2. Isn't that so neat? Anyways, from here, it's not as complex. Teams, the main developers of Sonic Advance, was going strong, creating 2 more advanced games, with Sonic Team taking care of Pinball Party and Battle. But on the console side, it's very interesting to see how Sega went for a 2-2-2 strategy when it came to their Sonic releases. 2 ports, 2 collections, and 2 brand new games. And also Riders, but shh. What's more interesting is how they slowly opened up to the other consoles as the generation went on. I already mentioned Adventure 2 Battle being a GameCube exclusive, so we can get that out of the way. The next game was Sonic Mega Collection, also exclusive to the GameCube. Good strategy here, you hook them up with the newest game and then show them the rest of the library. It's no wonder many Sonic fans got their start in this generation. I couldn't even argue this double pack of Sonic titles is the main reason Sega stuck so hard for Nintendo. It set a precedent of Sonic consistently putting better on those platforms. But even with this big connection, the GameCube was not performing the best, and the PS2, well, that was already the hottest thing in the planet. So Mega Collection got an updated port as Mega Collection Plus for the PS2 and Xbox, but that wasn't the first multi-platform Sonic game, because just a few months prior, we got the start of a revolution. Sonic Heroes, the first multi-platform Sonic game. Also, little side note here, I had a whole section dedicated to Adventure DX, but then during editing I realized I was gaslighted and that game never came out for the PS2 and Xbox. But you can still make the argument that it's the first multi-platform Sonic game because it got a PC port later. Anyways, it's a horrible remake, so just let's move on. We're not here to talk about my thoughts on the heroes, but it's impossible to deny this multi-platform approach really hurt the game. They had to make a brand new Sonic game in less than 2 years for 4 different platforms. Sonic Team was used to strict deadlines, but this one was really painful. Not everything was horrible though. Thanks to a partnership with Criterion Games, they were able to use a renderware engine, a really popular engine during that era, allowing them to port the game more easily. Which is funny to say, cause renderware might be the reason why this game never had a re-release since. Oh, did I mention this game is buggy as fuck and every version just kept getting worse and worse? Was it really worth it? Yes, actually, as Sonic Heroes became the best-selling 3D Sonic game and kept that title going for almost 20 years before being surpassed by Sonic Frontiers. So this meant, as much as it hurt the staff, multi-platform was the way to go. So that's why the next set of Sonic games were all multi-platform. That included Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic Riders, and Sonic Gems Collection. Just a little note on Gems Collection, it only came to the PS2 or Gamecube, no Xbox. Weird. But aside from that, there was another problem around the corner. The next generation of gaming was here. HD consoles were the future. So of course, Sega had to prepare for this, and with the 15th anniversary of the Sonic series lineup just right, it was the perfect moment to create the ultimate Sonic game, surpassing everything that came before with mind-blowing physics, graphics, story, and playable characters. So on Tokyo Game Show 2005, they revealed Sonic the Hedgehog. Just one little problem. Well, actually, like 1,000 big problems. 06 development history is a very huge topic where multiple parts coming into play to ruin what was said to be the Sonic game. But the part that I want to focus on is how Nintendo got into the mix. We already detailed how buddy-buddy Sega and Nintendo became in the Gamecube era. But going into Nintendo's next big consoles, the DS and Wii, Sega was said to be way more than just another third party. One of the biggest aspects Nintendo was pushing with their next system was backwards compatibility thanks to the Virtual Console, a place to virtually play games for all past Nintendo consoles. But at E3 2006, Virtual Console was going even further, adding Sega Genesis, and the people who went there got to try 3 titles for Mario World, Super Mario 64, and Sonic the Hedgehog. Everyone was already used to Sonic being on Nintendo platforms, but having the game that started the console wars back in the 90s, the game that put Sega on the map right alongside 2 of the most impactful Mario games ever, if not gaming in general, right there even before release, it sent a message. Sega was not abandoning Nintendo. If anything, their partnership was stronger than ever, and to further prove that point, the very first third-party game that was shown was Hypersonic. Wait, who? That's not the same game that was shown a year before, and that's because it wasn't. Unlike with their previous console, the Wii was not on par with the other consoles from a technical standpoint. While Sony and Microsoft were flexing their HD Ultra computers from the future, Nintendo just duct taped together 2 GameCubes and called it a day, which led to a split we can see even to this day. Now third parties had to choose if they want to work the more power machines or stick to the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Not Sega though, as those greedy motherfuckers decided to make 2 different games at the same time. So to do that, they took half of the Sonic 06 dev team, which was already losing their minds beforehand, and made them work with this Hypersonic, later named Sonic and the Secret Rings. Was it worth it? Yes. Oh wait, never mind. This started a trend with Sonic releases at the time. If you were a fan of the series until the late 2000s and want to play everything Sonic out there, you had to get multiple consoles. The Wii was for sure a platform aimed more at Sonic fans with exclusive titles like Black Knight and Colors, but the HD console had Sonic Unleashed and Generations, the later being a celebration of the series' history of which you couldn't fully play at the time. To be fair, SADX and SA2 Battle got ported to these modern consoles, so you were good on that front, but Colors and the storybook games were still locked on Wii. And what's worse, even on the handheld side where you expect to be simple, it wasn't. The DS had basically the same story as with the Wii. Right before launch, Sega was out there showing their full support to Nintendo with this funky ass tech demo, and when the system came out, it was greeted with exclusive titles like Sonic Rush, Rush Adventure, Chronicles, Colors DS. But just like the Wii, there were titles you simply couldn't play on there, mainly the Rivals games that were stuck behind the PSP. Oh no, the PSP games, oh no. Not to mention all the funky stuff in the middle. Classic Collection for the DS, Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection for the HD consoles, the Virtual Console titles on the Wii, the Xbox Live Arcade titles on Xbox 360, Sonic Genesis which came out for the GBA after the DS was already out. What the f***? Overall, a huge mess. Now, dialing it back a little, it wasn't the complete end of multi-platform Sonic titles. Most of the multiplayer-focused titles like Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, Sonic and Sega All-Star Racing, and Sega Superstar Tennis were all multi-platform, and there were some other titles that made sense as exclusivities on one particular console. The most infamous case being Sonic Free Riders, heavily utilizing the Kinect for everything, from the gameplay to the menus. Being a dog game aside, it makes sense why it stayed on the Xbox 360. The game was made with that console in mind. Same goes for other games we already talked about, like Sick Rings using the Wii mode or Rush using the dual screens of the DS. But the one game, or should I say series of games, that was made exclusive for one of the big three made the most sense of them all. And little did we know it was going to be a sign for what's to come.
Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games!
All that Sega and Nintendo partnership wasn't for nothing, as not even a full year after the Wii's release, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games was announced and released for both the Nintendo Wii and DS. The idea of a Mario and Sonic crossover has been floating around ever since the jump to Nintendo system, but it never managed to go past that initial idea. So when Sega got the license to the Beijing 2008 Olympic Games, instead of trying to make a realistic game, they moved for a more cartoony approach, something that would appeal more to people. And what better way to go about that using two of the most iconic video game series ever created? So they sent Nintendo the message and they responded with a yes. I know people nowadays, and even back then, find this series to be a waste of potential. This is the Mario and Sonic crossover, just a bunch of basic minigames. But looking at it from a different angle, it's pretty genius. The Olympic Games is always about bringing the whole world together for one friendly competition. The one event where all countries of the world can have fun together while also pushing that rivalry to the limit. I'm not a huge sports guy, but it's always a great time. Which is the perfect backdrop for Mario and Sonic's long-standing grudge. Times have changed, Nintendo and Sega are no longer mortal enemies, but the past can't be changed, so why not have some little fun? The box art shows it all. This is not Mario vs Sonic, it's Mario and Sonic. They are united as one, a celebration for both of these series. And yet, there's that fine line in the middle dividing them, both for main characters trying their best to be the winner. It's just like the real life event, the one place where these characters can have fun together while also pushing that rivalry to the limit. It's something that sadly gets set aside with every upcoming entry, so it's refreshing to see how much fun they had with this rivalry concept in the first game, especially with these ads of both Mario and Sonic playing pranks on each other. It's so great. Oh, how's the game itself? It's alright I guess. But we are not here to judge the games. Yet. We are here to see how everything connects, and in that case, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games is a mark of something more going on. Not just exclusives and good business between two companies, but something deeper. A sign of how Sonic was slowly getting more and more integrated into the Nintendo family, and that sign grew even more with Sonic's appearance in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. This friendly competition stuff, it's time to throw hands! Similar situation with the Mario and Sonic crossover. There were some talks about Sonic being in Melee, but it was already too late. So for the next entry, Sonic would be set as one of the two non-Nintendo guest characters. Or so that ended up being at the end. Sega asked for Sonic very late in development, so he was one of the last guests added in the game. And it shows. He just appears at the end of Subspace and half his moveset is just Orb. But that's a topic that plenty of people have already talked about. For the purpose of this video, it was huge. Even just 3 games in, Smash was already a great celebration of Nintendo and gaming history, so adding Sonic into the mix just felt right. And if the Olympic Games were too friendly for you, now you can have that Mario vs Sonic fight that we all dreamed of. From a personal story, Sonic was the biggest reason why I got the game in the first place. I saw that Sonic was playable on the back of the box, so I picked it right up and had tons of fun. Which I can also say about the next 2 Mario and Sonic games, 2010's Winter Olympic Games and 2012's London Olympic Games. 2010's felt pretty refreshing as every event was completely new and they doubled down on the dream events, wackier versions of normal sports based on Mario and Sonic, and this game nailed those. Snowboard on Radical Highway, sky jumping on Good Egg Galaxy, oh say less! London 2012 was also great as it finally got that glue that tied all the minigames together with London Tour. There were so many missions, characters to interact with, fun events that can happen, and the usual minigame selection from both normal and dream sports was at its peak, even if it did reuse a lot from the original. I mean, it's the Olympics, there's only so much you can— holy shit, is that Moo Moo Meadows? So while Sonic was all around the place over the late 2000s and early 2010s, Nintendo was slowly planting the seeds for something bigger, a partnership that would go even beyond any other third party. So for the new Nintendo 3DS and Wii U, Sega was ready to have a brand new Sonic game alongside them, and that game was Sonic and All-Star Racing Tran 4, which was multi-platform, never mind then. It just seemed like this generation was not going to be any different from the previous one. If anything, it must be a sign of things going back to normal. The Wii U was not on par with Sony and Microsoft's newest consoles, but it was good enough. So we can expect them to release the next mainline Sonic game to be available on all major platforms. How did Sonic fans survive this? On May 17, 2013, Nintendo held one of their Nintendo Directs for information on their upcoming projects. In said presentation, Satoru Iwata, may he rest in peace, started the Direct with a huge announcement, a special partnership between Nintendo and Sega. The deal? 3 exclusive Sonic titles for the Wii U, with the first one being Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games. Oh wow, that's crazy. Aside from the most sky is blue type announcement, the second game announced was none other than the next mainline Sonic game, Sonic Lost World. No trailer, not even a logo, just one screenshot, the most basic description ever, and platforms. This was during the time Nintendo was still trying to figure out how to do directs. I mean, did you see that 20 FPS gameplay of Sochi? You see if this is how they reveal Sonic Frontiers and a Sonic Central or something. Izuka just pulls up, says, Sonic Frontiers, available on all major platforms, and dips. Oh, what's the third game? Well, that was kept as a little secret for later. And so, the plan was set in motion. While he could still do stuff like mobile games, for the most part, Sonic was stuck on Nintendo for the whole generation. Not even the PS Vita got a game after the Transform, despite that not being part of the contract. This is what the whole video has been leading up to. This wasn't just a normal exclusivity deal. Sonic became a Nintendo mascot. And if you don't believe me, you can open your Wii U and 3DS and go to Edition right now and... Oh yeah. Well, if you could, you would find a whole section solely dedicated to Sonic games, the only third party, aside from Lego but that doesn't count, with its own section, right alongside Mario, Pokemon, Zelda. And if that was enough, Sonic came back for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, complete with a new trailer, which no other returning character got, and with it came the Sonic amiibo. Of course it worked in Smash, but it also got a surprising amount of support in other Nintendo games like Mario Kart 8, Super Mario Maker, and Yoshi's Woolly World. It even got some use into the Switch era with Mario Kart Deluxe and Smash Ultimate. Funnily enough, the only Sonic game that uses this amiibo is Rio 2016 for some costumes. But enough of all this trivia. What about the games? Was it worth all the legal trouble? No. Despite being the second game announced, the first game released out of the trio was Sonic Lost World. And since these 3 games are the reason why I made this video in the first place, let's give them a special look. Lost World is weird. After Colors and Generations being greatly received, most people expected the boost formula to become the main gameplay style of the series. So here comes Sonic Lost World throwing all that away for... something else. Lost World is such a mess of gimmicks and ideas that it's even hard to explain what it is. While it tries to be wacky and silly, it also feels so uninspired with some of the most boring level teams ever and some of the worst characters and dialogue in the series. Even the way Sonic moves is weird. Scientists can still not decipher what's the point of these road movies, and why is it in Frontiers? For some reason walking upwards and downwards is faster than walking to the sides, which even affects the 2D sections, that only goes to make those segments even slower. I still have no idea how the parkour works half the time, the wheels really don't fit with the level design, there's items and missions, but you didn't remember that because 90% of the time they are useless aside from one specific wisp that opens like 3 secrets in the entire game, not to mention you need to use the Wii U gamepad to use them, same with something as basic as tutorials, there's also 3D connectivity and co-op? Go! Attack! Ah! Attack! Oh my god, I don't even get me started on the homing attack, homing kick shenanigans. Of course, that didn't stop me from really enjoying this game when it came out. Maybe it was Stockholm Syndrome, but the way the spin dash works on this game makes it really fun to speedrun. It turns into a boost game with more focus on the platforming aspect, which is a side of Sonic I personally adore. That being said, point is, this game is weird and confusing, I also kinda love it, but also hate it, whatever. Going back to the whole Nintendo Sonic thing, aside from being an exclusive to the Wii U and 3DS, it didn't stop there, as after the game release it got free DLC in the form of Yoshi's Island and Zelda level packs. Nintendo was doing this a lot in their third-party games like with Rayman Legends and Tekken, but this felt way bigger than with those games, as they were full levels with their own music and mechanics. The Yoshi one plays around keeping the Yoshi eggs alive to get a bunch of extra lives in the end, and the Zelda one, oh boy, the Zelda one, dropping you on an open world link strip where you can explore, collect rupees and extend your health. Then you gotta use a bomb enemy to explore the nearby caves, which is almost the same as most of the other caves levels, but look! Link! Ending with a really cool shot of Sonic getting the Triforce. It's not a controversial take to say that these are some of the best levels in the game, and you could even make the argument that the Zelda level had a major influence when making Sonic Frontiers. In the end, Sonic Lost World was received with mixed reviews, and I do mean mixed, and it didn't sell the best, partly because of the Wii U exclusivity. Funnily enough, Lost World will come to Steam only 2 years after. It's not the best port out there, but it works and removes all the unnecessary gamepad uses along with the Nintendo levels, but you can still play them thanks to an excellent mod. That does mean we live in a world where Lost World is available on Steam but not Unleashed. That's kinda tough. Not even a month after Sonic Lost World, we got our second game in the lineup. Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Winter Olympic Games. Jesus Christ, these titles. Going back to the game after all these years, I was pretty split. I still think the individual events are fun enough, and thanks to the Wii Mode Plus, some of these events like Skin are way better than their Wii counterparts. But that's the problem, most if not all of these events were already on the first Winter Games, and everything that Sochi adds is just annoying and unnecessary. There's the story mode-ish, where you just play event after event and get these shadow clones of you. Nothing more, nothing less. If anything, it goes to show the biggest problem with this game, which is the gamepad. It constantly forces you to switch controls between the Wii Mode and Nunchuck and the gamepad. It's just so tiring. It's not like I gain anything from using the gamepad. In multiplayer, everyone can use a Wii Mode on every event. Why can't I? I can kinda appreciate the sports use aspect that plays in events where you don't use the gamepad, but I'm playing the game, not looking at Toad commentate. And even aside from that, there's just so much unnecessary bullshit in the way. Every time you select an event, they show you the slowest tutorial known to mankind, and every time you set a new record, they do this whole interview where it forces you to take a picture and stuff. Really cute the first time, but even after the second one, I hated it. Only took up more of my time. There's also this trivia minigame where it makes you play normal events but with a little twist of trivia, and it's a pretty fun concept, but my god, every time they need to show the map of where you're going, they know what the cube attack, then like you to show the tutorial, I'm like, Jesus Christ, can we get to the game already? And some of these events are, you know what, I'll just show you.
Go!
Okay. Is that it? Jesus Christ, that was Yoshi. That was Yoshi. How do I shoot?
Finish!
That's it? One round? Not even the dream events can save this game. They are fun, I guess, and some like figure skating and sledge race are just as good as previous entries, but not only do we have only 9 of them this time, a pitiful number compared to the past 2 games, some of these barely count as Mario and Sonic references, which again, compared to the stuff we had in the other games, it's just lame in comparison. Sochi 2014 is still a fun game at the end of the day, it still looks beautiful and the soundtrack is surprisingly amazing, but it's such a downgrade from the heights of London, and it can't even beat the previous Winter Games, which is a shame since after this Sega lost the rights to the Winter Olympics, meaning no more Mario and Sonic Winter Games. This is where most people, including myself, think the series went on a downfall. Rio 2016 was even more lacking in content, and Tokyo, while being an upgrade and adding some great events here and there, still felt pretty bare bones. I know most people don't care about this series, but those first 3 games were special to me, so seeing the series slowly get worse and worse, it's just sad. But hey, with 2 games down, that means there's one more game to pick me up, their Special Weapon, the game they were teasing us about for almost an entire year. So here we go, the last Wii U Sonic game as part of the deal was none other than Sonic Boom Rise of Link. God fucking damn it. So, Sonic Boom. You're telling me that the next big Sonic game that will launch an entire sub-series with a show, comics, merchandise galore, it's going to be stuck on the Wii U? The console that was already way beyond dead in the ground? The same year that same really small target will be busy playing games like Mario Kart 8, Smash for Wii U, Bayonetta 2, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Hyrule Warriors, Captain f***ing Toad? And then you forget to tell your developers that this game is launched on the Nintendo Clown Box instead of the big boy console, so the entire game had to rebuild on the platform where the engine they were working on didn't even f***ing exist? I wonder what happened! Just like with Sonic 06, there was a lot right on this game's back, if not more than with 06. But Sega being Sega, they went about it the worst way possible. I won't go into detail of the insane development this game went through, that could probably be its own video. So, how's the game itself? But how do I explain it? Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric is not your traditional high-speed platforming game, focusing more on being an action-adventure game with stuff like exploration, puzzle solving, and combat. So let's get to the main thing people know about this game. Yes, it's broken beyond repair. Well, maybe not that much, as they released a huge 1GB patch shortly after the release to fix some of the bugs, which doesn't sound like much, but on the Wii U, that's an entire weekend of downloading. Still doesn't fix the slowdown though! But that's honestly the least of my issues. If anything, the bugs and glitches are the best part of the game for me, because what you get is a score, it's one of the most boring games I ever played. The exploration is boring, the movement is boring, the platforming is boring, and especially the combat is boring. And one more is there, let's see, the story? Being completely honest, I couldn't care less about it. The concepts are at least better animated than 90% of other Sonic games, and the dialogue can be a little bit funny here and there, but the actual plot? Nah, Lyric is a boring villain, Shadow, Metal Sonic and Eggman are just here for no reason, and this game deals with time travel. Don't ask how it affects the plot because I don't know and don't care. Just look. I have no other way to explain why I hate this game aside from just showing you me playing it. Which I mean, you can do that right here. Okay, can we move on? All this and more was the reason the Sonic Boom series died almost as fast as it was born. Aside from the TV show going for 2 seasons and Fire and Ice released on the 3DS in 2016, the Boom branding was completely erased. Well, Styx's name dropped in Frontiers, so at least she seems to still be around. I've actually seen some people say Fire and Ice is fun, but I wouldn't know it. But that point I was already burned by Boom for 2 years straight, and it seems I wasn't the only one. Every Boom game sold pretty badly, which can also be said for Sonic Lost World and Sochi 2014, as they all became some of the worst selling Sonic games ever. So we come back to the first question, was it still worth it? No, I have no idea why Nintendo even decided to do this in the first place. They already had the Mario and Sonic games locked on their platforms, Lost World was always going to come to Wii U thanks to its more cartoony art style, and Boom, well, it wouldn't be on Wii U, but I don't think they needed Boom in such a packed year like 2014 was for them. And if they really wanted Boom, they would still have Shadow Chris on the 3DS, their more successful platform. As for Sega, do they just hate money? And why do you not care about the state of your game that was supposed to skyrocket a whole new sub-series of franchise? All in all, it was a bad idea all around. Which is why when the next generation came around, Sega went back to just being a third party on all platforms. But that didn't mean the Nintendo relationship completely broke up. On July 23rd, 2016, Sega held a special birthday event for Sonic, announcing 2 new games, Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces, which at the time was simply called Project Sonic 2017. What's worth noting here is that the Forces teaser had a very strange set of platforms. It was released on PS4, Xbox One, PC, and NX? Yeah, even before Nintendo even announced the Switch was a thing, Sega was already supporting them with the next mainline Sonic game. They were so early in fact that they had to create this fake NX logo for the teaser, which also means this is one of the first games officially announced for the next console. And after the January Switch presentation, Nintendo dropped on the YouTube channel that Sonic Mania would also come to their platform. It's a no-brainer now, but back when we only had 2 teasers, people, including myself, thought Mania wasn't coming to any Nintendo platforms at the time. But no, they were both right there on launch on all major platforms including the Nintendo Switch. And for the most part, it was better suited there thanks to the portability aspect. And that's the state we are right now. Every single Sonic game that's not for mobile or some weird other subscription services like Apple Arcade or Netflix has been released on all platforms, and in every single one of them, the best selling version was the Switch one. It might be because the Switch is one of the best selling consoles of all time, but I do think people just don't take that fact into account. And by people, I even include Sega themselves. Most people know the terrible state Colors Ultimate release on Switch, had bugs so bad it could cause you epilepsy. And yet, it's the best selling version. Similar story with Sonic Frontiers, it's by far the worst looking version of the game with an insane pop-in, but that too is the best selling version. Team Sonic Racing didn't even have their intro cinematic in the Switch version, and yep, best selling version there too. So my point here is to not forget that fact. I think Sega should spend more time dedicating to improving their Switch ports. And I don't want to know that, oh but the Switch is so underpowered BS when it can easily play huge titles like Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Odyssey and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. But also, we as fans need to stop underplaying Sonic's success on the Switch so hard. Every time someone posts a piece of unused content, people immediately go, oh it must be because the Switch can handle it. Like no, shut up! I think some people just want to refuse the fact that Sonic's actually selling pretty good right now. And what has proven my point more than anything is Sonic X Shadow Generation Remaster. When this first got leaked, people were mad, because why do we need a Gens remaster? The game is available on Steam already. And well, a fair point. The main reason I was so excited for it was because of the Switch. Real life story here. When people ask me what games to play as the first Sonic game, I always mention two, Sonic Mania and Generations. And they usually answer with, cool, but I can't get Gens on Switch. And what's more, when this remaster got announced, I had multiple people tell me directly, I'm so excited to play Generations for the first time, I only played the 3DS version. Which only goes to show how big of a part the Sonic fandom is still stuck on Nintendo. If you want hard numbers, then according to VG charts, 50% of all units sold of Sonic Forces went from the Switch version. 50% is a lot. So while you and I can easily boot up any Sonic game and add as many crazy mods as possible, that's sadly not the majority here. And that's why I made this video in the first place. Well, that and I want to talk about the Wii U. I wanted to go back in time and find out why this is the case. And from this video's research, I found out the extensive story of Sonic and Nintendo partnering up. It wasn't just a couple games here and there, a 3-night stand with a failing console and back to normal. Over the years, both Sega and Nintendo have been pushing each other upwards. While he's still multi-platform, Sonic really feels part of the Nintendo family. And now, more than ever, people of all ages are introduced to him every year. So when Nintendo consoles being aimed at a bigger demographic, it's perfect for both of them. Yes, the partnership hasn't been the best, and yes, it was one of the big factors behind both of Sonic's most infamous titles, but in the end, it seems to be paying off. The series has never been in a better state than this, and I can't help but thank Nintendo for introducing me and millions of other Sonic fans to this toxic relationship with the Blue Rats. Oh, that's what I think. What do you think about this topic? Let me know down in the comments below. Maybe talk about how you got into the Sonic series and if it had anything to do with the Nintendo adventures. And while you're down there, why not hit the like and subscribe button for more content like this one. But that's all from me, and I'll see you on the next ride.